What's up, everybody? This is Wreak Havoc here, back with the Havoc Hour on this lovely Tuesday afternoon. You know, I'm gonna be honest with you guys before I really start everything off. I'm going a little nuts. You know, we're finally starting to come down a little bit from COVID madness and everything. You know, businesses open up and everything again. I need my gym back. I'm gonna tell you right now, I need my gym back. And shout out to since I mentioned it, shout out to Chisel Street Fitness. You know, my boy Jay on the street out here where fat cells go to die. Um, yeah, I'm going a little nuts. I finally went out for a nice little run today because I need my gym back. This is ridiculous. I'm going insane. You know, work, home. It's not a big deal. I don't really go out like that anyway, but I need my gym back. This is killing me. Anywho, let's get into it. Got a big slate of topics to get into today. Starting, of course, with UFC 249. Fight week is officially here. The layover has ended. Dana White kept his promise. He is the first sport out of the gate back on track here this Saturday, May 9th, from the ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. They they made it happen. It's going down this weekend, and it's headlined by Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje for the interim lightweight championship. Yet another interim belt Tony gets to take home. But anywho, as promised, I'm gonna get into my predictions for this main card really quick. Starting, of course, with Ferg and Gaethje. Look, I don't think there's any question here. There's people that want to give the edge to Gaethje, his power and everything. Listen, that's great. He got it. He's solid. Listen, Tony Ferguson, every limb on this man's body is a dangerous weapon. From hands to feet, elbows to knees. His jujitsu is, in my view, is second to none. You know, he can get you from the ground, from the clinch, his stand up. Listen, in terms of this division, in the lightweight division, I know Khabib is the undefeated, undisputed lightweight champion. I got that. That's great. I I don't think that he's better than Ferguson. I don't. He's a better wrestler, sure. He is the best wrestler in, I'll say the lightweight division. I won't say the whole UFC because, DC might have something to say about that. But in lightweight division, yeah, he's the best wrestler. Clear as day. I don't think he could stand up with Tony Ferguson. I mean, we saw when he won the lightweight championship, he fought Al Quinta, and he just kind of pieced him up in those third and fourth rounds. Yeah, sure, he won unanimously, but there was enough there to suggest that the right striker could rattle Khabib. And even Dustin Poirier, when they fought in Abu Dhabi, he had some clean shots in there too. So when you look at Tony Ferguson, the complete fighter, if you put him in there with Khabib, if God willing we get this fight ever, I think Tony Ferguson will get him. But in the meantime, he's got to get Gaethje. And, another reason I say most definitely I would take Tony is that his dedication to this date. They said May 9th was going to be it, come hell or high water. He made weight. Initially, this fight was supposed to take place weeks ago. But obviously, everything got shut down and postponed. Ferguson still made weight on the date. He literally, shot the video. He gets on the scale, 155 on the dot. He is laser focused. Obviously, he wants Khabib. He wants the real belt. We know, but now you have another roadblock in the way in Justin Gaethje, and not to discredit the guy. And he is a solid fighter. He can bang. I give it to him. But this is not the fight for him right now. I tell you that. I give him credit for stepping in there. He wants the credibility, and I think he'll present a nice challenge to Tony Ferguson. But this only ends one way. He will finish it. I'm not gonna say how. I'm just gonna go with results on this one. I'm not gonna get into specifics. But I say Tony Ferguson wins. If it draws out to all 5 rounds, then the better. it could be the best fight on the card, but actually, no, I'm gonna take that back. There's another fight that I think will be best on the card, and I'm gonna get to that later. But I'm taking Ferguson. Point blank. Period. Moving on. In the co-main, we've got Henry Cejudo defending the bantamweight championship against Dominic Cruz, who hasn't fought since he lost the bantamweight championship to Cody Garbrandt, UFC 207, about 4 or 5 years ago. So it's been a long layover for Cruz. Battled some injuries. He's been on the commentary desk. So this is going to be a long time coming. But initially, because this fight was announced a while back, it was supposed to be Cejudo versus Aldo, UFC 250 in Brazil. Obviously, everything has been shuffled due to travel and the worldwide situation going on. So in comes Dominic Cruz. And this was something I would say Henry called out for. These guys have been going at it on social media and everything like that, and they're still going at it. But initially, when that fight was announced, this one, I thought, maybe Cejudo takes this. He's been more active and everything like that, and the layover gets to guys after a while. But then I thought about it, and I really looked into this. If y'all realize, I don't think enough people take this into context. Dominic Cruz has only lost 2 fights in his career. I hadn't really put that in the full perspective until recently. He lost back in the WEC. He lost to Uriah Faber. Cool. He immediately made up for that loss and beat Faber for the bantamweight title. Then he got to UFC, and they had the trilogy fight at UFC 199, and he beat Faber again. And then after that, he didn't lose again until Cody, back at UFC 207. So he got 2 losses on his record. So, can we really definitively say that Cejudo's got this in the bag? I don't. And I've talked over it with some folks, and my boys, Fight Hound and Pound for Pound. They kind of, they're a little split about it, but they kind of, for the most part, go with Cruz on this one, like I do, because here's how I'm looking at it. Cejudo is most dangerous when he's got a hold of you. He's a wrestler. He's an Olympic wrestler. But more than that, it's those bursts that he gets into, those flurries. You saw it against TJ. You saw it against Moraes. You get in close, you hit one good shot, and you back him up just a little bit, and you just go on the offensive and flurries. The knees, the shot, the hands, elbows, as much as you can. You get them down on the ground. You start grounding and pounding, just endlessly. So here's the thing, though. Dominic Cruz has some pretty solid head movement, and he's a hell of a counterpuncher. So you have to take that into account when you are a guy in Cejudo who is not known for knocking people out, and he's not known for his range. He gets in close. He has dropped people. Wilson Hayes was an example. He put him down pretty hard, But when we're talking Dom here, I think really what stifled Dom against Cody was Cody's solid footwork and his boxing. Cody's a Golden Glover, so that was no question. And he was kind of waiting for his shot, and he waited a little too long, so that Cody kind of got up on the cards enough so that it was kind of a moot point for him to try and catch up. But that was really the issue there. It was definitely unexpected, but now here you won't have to worry about that with Cejudo. He's not a boxer or anything like that, but I would say most definitely he cannot wait for a moment here. It's going to be hard for Cejudo to try and take Cruz down because his footwork is pretty solid too. But truthfully, I still, even knowing all this, I still wanted to say Cejudo, but you know what? I've come around, and I'm gonna say Dominic Cruz. I'm gonna take him. I would say if Cejudo can't get things going and put him away in the first, I'll say 2 rounds, forget about it. It's over. Because a healthy Dominic Cruz is a problem for everyone in that division. And yeah, he's 35 now, I believe. So, which isn't too bad. It's not too old, but you know, in the fight game, people age a lot differently. But if he's healthy, he's all good to go. I say no question. I'm taking him, most definitely. So he's gonna win this, as far as I'm concerned. Get the belt back, and that opens up a whole new world of possibilities at 135. I'm looking forward to that. Next up, this and the fight after that I'm getting to right after, but this and that other fight, Jeremy Stephens and Calvin Kattar. Between these two, I think this could be fight of the night. Now, the only reason I say it might not be this one is because it probably won't go very long. Because Francis Ngannou versus Yair Rozenstruik, how this is like Godzilla and King Kong, Predator versus Alien. Not even Alien. Something bigger than that. I don't know. These are two mammoth, heavy-handed monsters fighting each other. And they have the one thing in common, that they have both just absolutely smashed Alistair Overeem. Ngannou turned him into a Pez dispenser when they fought, and Yair busted his lips loose, literally. So the power is not a question. The question is who's going to land it first and who's going to land it hardest. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to go with what I know for sure, and I'm going to take Ngannou. Only because Yair is still coming up. He has run through some pretty credible fighters on his way up. He's undefeated so far. But, I think the biggest test I've seen Ngannou face was Stipe. And that's because, Stipe could handle the storm that was, Ngannou's flurries in the first 2 rounds. And it was the cardio of Stipe was able to outlast Ngannou. And once Ngannou swung himself out, the fatigue starts to kick in. At heavyweight, obviously, cardio is obviously going to be significantly dropped already. But for Ngannou, he wasn't used to getting out of the first 2 rounds like that. Rarely out of the first round. So, for him, this was uncharted territory. Stipe wasn't falling. He was staying in it. His chin was holding up well. And, after a while, he used his wrestling and just wore Ngannou down. He won't have to worry about that with Yair. This is going to be exactly what Ngannou lives for. But now we're going to find out about Francis' chin, because he's going to fight somebody that his power is on the same wavelength. I mean, I cannot stress this enough. This dude really tore Overeem's lip off with a right hook. That was terrifying to watch. It truthfully was. So, we will see how tough both men's chins are, but somebody's got to drop. And in the cases like these, I go with the devil I know versus the devil I don't. I got to go with Ngannou here. It's one of those, I'm just going to be happy to watch it. But right now, I'm going to go with the vet, the guy who's been to the dance. And I think this fight, without question, needs to be the fight that puts Ngannou in the heavyweight title picture. For me, I said I wouldn't have fought until I get my title shot. But after this fight, he should not fight again until he gets a heavyweight championship match. Without question, he should not. Because if he knocks this out of the park, and especially in the first 2 rounds at least, I would say no question, it's time. And then obviously, I'd say the only reason that it's been held up now is because Stipe and DC are supposed to have the trilogy fight, and whenever that's going to take place, DC's getting a little frustrated about that too because they haven't gotten a contract signed. But this is going to be it. This is going to be it. Ngannou gets the winner of DC Stipe, but first order of business is going to be this. So I got him over Yair. Now, next fight is Stevens and Cater. This is the one I think might be fighting tonight. Because these are two real scrappy, stand and bang type guys. Now, the difference here is that Calvin Cater is more of a rangy guy. He's got power, but it's his distance that makes him more deadly. And Stevens has a bit of an issue with that. He'll get into a dogfight with anybody, and he will knock you the absolute fuck out. But he has struggled with guys that have distance. Against Zabit, he was struggling to get inside there, and that suffered. That was really the big issue because he fell down on the cards with those first 2 rounds. Zabit was really outstriking him, and that was his downfall. So I'm actually going to go with Cater on this, based off that. There's a chance for Stevens to get inside and do some damage, but I've seen some scary stuff out of Cater more recently, and like I said again, with that range, I think it's gonna serve to a detriment to him. It still, I think it's gonna be fight of the night without question, but I'm gonna take Cater just off of the advantage he has here. It's not conventional wisdom, but I'm playing the smart card here. Next, the first fight on the main card is Greg Hardy and Yorgan De Castro. So, Yorgan I haven't seen much of. He's only been a pro since 2017. He's still up and coming. But I guess the same applies for Greg Hardy. But he has a bit of a fist on him too. Just back at UFC 243, he had a wild home run, walk off, knockout, and it was mind blowing. Now, the thing with Hardy, like I said again, with cardio in the heavyweight division, it's already something that's on the downside slope. But with Hardy, it's almost similar to Ngannou in the sense that if he's not getting you out of there and early in the fight, then he's gonna wane after a while. Now, if you see De Castro, he's a significantly bigger fighter, so it's not that I say that Yorgan can capitalize on that, but this will either be a clean, smooth knockout of the night, or it'll be probably the worst fight on the card. That's really where we're at with it. And I've already given the distinction of knockout of the night potentially to Ngannou and Yair. So I don't know. I don't want to think this will be the worst fight on the card, but there's two guys in the same position, kind of. They're both coming up. And Hardy, I'll give him credit. His MMA career, the transition from the NFL, it has been impressive. And he stepped up to some big fish. On short notice, he had to fight Volkov. Didn't work out, but he's not shying away. I'll take Hardy in this fight because I think this is going to be a solid bounce back for him, and more than anything, he's thriving off of getting into some heavy fights. Guys that are swinging hard. He thrives off that. I don't think we've seen enough to know how how well his chin holds up. I don't think we've seen enough yet, but he's not scared. He's not shying away from it. So I think without a doubt, this is another another opportunity for him to climb up the ranks again. Good bounce back for him. I think Greg Hardy. Again, I won't say how. None of these guys. I'm not saying by way of TKO, knockout, submission. I'm not going there. Um, it's been a while. I got to get back in the flow of things first before we start doing all of that. Let's just get through this event and we'll move forward. But yeah, that's the main card. The prelims also are nuts too. I mean, I won't get into all of those, but it's headlined by Donald Cerrone and Anthony Pettis. What more do you need? You know, I do want to make a prediction for that one though. I'm going to be honest. I'm taking Anthony Pettis, and for most people, they would base that off of Cerrone's last performance against Conor. That plays a factor. I will submit to you that. But for me, it's more so what Anthony Pettis does well. Because if you watch their first fight, this is a rematch. They fought well over 7 years ago. Pettis won that fight. But Pettis pays attention to the guy's previous fights more than most. He pays attention to injuries. He pays attention to areas that you're weak at. And in the first fight, he focused a lot on targeting the knee because Cowboy had surgery on it, and getting inside to the body, a lot of the kicks, knees, and ultimately that was what got him. The switch kick right into the body, dropped Donald, and he got on top, TKO. If you watched Cerrone and Conor, it was a quick affair, 40 seconds, I believe, and it was some stiff shoulders to the nose that really kind of did him in early on. Now, Pettis can implement that into what his game plan going into this, but I think it's going to be a lot of trickery here. Like, he's going to kind of divert some attention away from it. He'll go back to the legs a little bit, into the clinch. I think he'll try to kind of deceive him a little bit, say, I'll try to avoid the head, go inside, go low, and then he'll just catch him. Ultimately, I've been one of those people that I wasn't a big fan of what Stephen A. said with Donald Cerrone quitting. But the one thing I do see is that this isn't a big fight. But, Cowboy, he has this thing where big fight comes and he's not known for showing up. He's been on the record recently, this past week, saying that when it came to the Conor fight, he realized once he got there, he didn't want to be there. And then Cowboy didn't show up. Now, again, this is not a big fight. It's headlining the prelims, sure, but it's not a big fight. It could be a main card, a co-main, anywhere else. But this card is so big, I mean, it's just where the dominoes fell. I think this kind of still suffers from that same effect. Like, it's a prelim fight, but it still feels big. And thankfully, it works in his favor that it's a familiar opponent. But it could also serve to his detriment, too, because Pettis has been through some wars over the time. So has Cowboy. But now it's just, I don't know. I'm not seeing the same Cowboy from the recent years. When he switched up to heavyweight, I thought he was going to run through that division. He looked very impressive. As far back as 205 when he fought Rick Story, I thought this was going to turn a lot of things around. And then I don't know. Ever since then, it's kind of been a little bit shaky the last few fights. So, I mean, I'm sticking with Pettis on this one. Truthfully, I don't have a lot of, not that I don't have faith in Cowboy. It just I haven't liked what I've been seeing recently. So I'm sticking with Pettis on that. Outside of that, on the prelims, like I said, this is nuts. I mean, you got Fabricio Verdun versus Alexei Olenek, Carla Esparza versus Michelle Waterson, Uriah Hall, Jacare Souza, Vicente Luca, Nico Price. I mean, this card is nuts. But it's all going down this Saturday, May 9th. 10 p.m. is the main card. Early prelims are going to start at 6:30, so that's the best time to tune in so you catch everything. But anywho, on to the next topic here. So, if you've been paying attention to football recently, we're post-draft right now, and teams are still putting some last-minute pieces together for their teams. Now, I've been talking about this a lot lately. The Dallas Cowboys and this constant ongoing contract dispute with Dak Prescott. Well, the Cowboys have fired yet another shot of their own this week by signing Andy Dalton. For those who don't know, Andy Dalton has been the starter in Cincinnati since, I believe, 2011. 2011 to 2012. He's been the starter in Cincinnati. He's been to the playoffs. He's won a lot of good games. He's had some pretty solid seasons. He's a pretty well-proven starter. Safe to say that. He is a starter in this league. Cowboys just signed him. Now, Ian Rappaport says, one of his sources that told him from the Cowboys has said, the signing has nothing to do with Dak Prescott. This was purely insurance in the event that something should happen to Dak, he goes down, whatever. In today's NFL, you have to have that, right? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it's bullshit. You know why it's bullshit? Because Dak Prescott has yet to miss a single game. He hasn't. It was a story on the back page of the newspaper when he missed a practice. Dak Prescott does not miss games. He is not an injury risk at all. So that's bullshit. What this is, Jerry Jones thinks he's slick. What this is purely is CYA mode. Cover your ass, for those who don't know. They are, in all honesty, doing two things. Number one, they're saying, you can hold out if you want to. We don't need you. We're going to go here. But also, they are preparing themselves for the reality that there will be a holdout. If I'm Dak Prescott, there's no question in my mind that one or two things are happening. A, I'm requesting a trade. Now, I don't know if I would immediately go there because, let's face it, you have enough weapons in Dallas to make a real run at the Super Bowl next year, especially now that you added CeeDee Lamb, in place of Randall Cobb. With everything they have there, there's no question they're contenders in the NFC next season. But here's the thing. This guy hasn't had a losing season since he got drafted by Dallas. He wasn't supposed to be the starter. He got put in place after Romo went down. But since that time, since he has been named the starter all the way back in 2016, he hasn't had a losing season yet. He hasn't been in the newspaper for anything negative. He hasn't made any bad headlines. Guy's a model citizen. He's not a problem. That's one. Again, no losing seasons. They've taken him to the playoffs 2 different seasons out of 4. His stats, I've went over this in a previous episode. His stats have increased year after year. Just the past season, throwing just short of 5,000 yards and 30-plus touchdowns. So you got that. He's a leader on that team, in the locker room, on the offense. He controls that huddle. He has earned that status. He's a captain on the squad. I mean, what more do you need from a franchise quarterback? I need an answer to that question. Now, I don't have the exact number, but the talk is in these negotiations so far that he is looking to make just north of what Carson Wentz does now. Because Carson Wentz got the big, massive new deal last season, which I don't understand why when the guy's an injury risk. But I won't go there. But if you're looking at talent-wise, you can't summarily dismiss that Carson Wentz could be better. There's no way to prove that, in terms of talent and accuracy, that Carson Wentz is an all-time, or I'm sorry, Dak is completely better than Wentz, or Wentz is completely better than Dak. There's no way to show it because, again, we haven't seen a full 16-game run from Carson Wentz yet. We haven't seen a full body of work from him yet because he's constantly getting hurt. So, and that's not his fault. It's football. This shit happens all the time. But reality is we haven't had enough of a full sample size to say, hey, this is a full season from Dak. This is a full season from Carson. This is who's better. But that's the whole point. The best ability any franchise player for any team can have is availability. Carson Wentz has not had that. Again, that's not his fault, but he has not had that. Dak Prescott has had that for 5 years. This will be his 5th year. He has had availability. And with that availability, the Cowboys have been in better positions to win every single season. Again, 2 playoff runs since he's been there. Out of the 4 seasons that he played so far, they've been to the playoffs 2 of them. And they were only about a game shy of making it to the playoffs in the 2 seasons that they did make it. So we're not talking about a guy that is, average or mediocre or still needs development. Sure, he could be better, but he's getting better every season. So that's not an issue. So at what point do you say, I'm tired of being disrespected? I would have hit that point months ago. And everybody says this, about this topic. If this were Tony Romo, he'd have been signed. No question. We wouldn't have even made it to the offseason, and Tony would have had $100 million in the bank already. So why is Dak Prescott? I don't want to go here, but it's because he's black. I'm not trying to go here, but I feel that my hand is being forced. Is it because the man black? Is it because he's a black quarterback and he's successful in the NFL right now? And Jerry Jones is not the biggest fan? I don't understand it. I really don't. Because to say that he wants the kind of money Carson Wentz is making or better, I don't think that's much to ask. Again, not because of the stats, because of the availability. Carson Wentz could very well, talent-wise, be a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. He could be. But we may never know that. Because show me one season where Carson Wentz was healthy for all 16 games. I'll wait. That's the issue here. And for the 16 games that Dak Prescott has been healthy, he's been one of the better quarterbacks, not just in the NFC, in the NFL. In a younger quarterback's league right now. So when you put that in perspective, I mean, who would you rather have on your franchise at this stage in the game? If you were building a franchise, it comes down to Wentz or Prescott. They're the 2 quarterbacks. They're the standout guys of this division. Eli's retired. Dwayne it's just year 2 for him. He's still getting things going. And Daniel Jones is stepping in for Eli Manning. So it comes down to Wentz and Prescott. They are the guys right now. Who would you rather take? Now, I know there's plenty of people that would take Wentz, but again, we're talking 16 games. Well, it's about to get moved up to 18 soon. But who would you rather take? Wentz, Prescott. Because I got to be honest, though. If you have a good backup, because that's the most important thing. If you were Philly and you had a Nick Foles that could carry you all the way to a championship from the late in the season into the playoffs, Okay, cool. But what if you don't? What if you're Dallas in 2014 and you have Brandon Whedon and uh, what's the guy's name that's the offensive coordinator now? I can't think of his name. But if you have that, then availability is going to be crucial because your backup is not going to be able to get it done. Period. And this is the same. The team I'm talking about is the same team talent wise that a year before was so deep in the playoffs that controversial catch, non-catch, whatever call off Des Bryant was the only thing stopping them from going to the NFC Championship game, in all likelihood. But this is what we're talking about here. There's so many, and again, not just availability. There's so many different factors that you could say, this is your franchise guy. He needs to get paid. He needs, at some point, just about security, about saying, listen, we're happy you're here. We want you to stay here for the duration of your career. That statement is not being made. Jerry is coming off as just wildly disrespectful. And if I am Dak Prescott, Dak, I hope you listen into this one day. If I'm him, to hell with the Cowboys right now. And I don't feel he's the type. He's a competitor. He's an athlete, and he puts the team first. So I give him credit for that. But you got to think about your own future. If you're not going to make an investment into me, why am I here? And for you to go out and do this. Now, Andy Dalton played for some scrubs in Cincinnati. Yeah, he had AJ Green and some solid guys there, but Cincinnati was never going anywhere far. Not in the AFC North. Who knows what he could do in Dallas with the kind of weapons they got over there? So, essentially, Jerry and his boys over there are just pulling the power move, saying, "Listen, we're prepared for anything. If Dak wants to hold out, let him hold out. He wants to trade, get him a trade. We're prepared to move forward because guess what? Now we got Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton's a proven starter in this league, and again, the weapons we got over here, who knows what that could mean? That I would not take that. I would not take that at all because I don't think there's any franchise around short of Kansas City, I guess Tampa now they got Brady, but New Orleans, Atlanta, San Francisco, maybe, I don't know. I don't think there's any franchises short of those teams that wouldn't take Dak Prescott of their team right now. Right now. I mean, he maybe not Baltimore, we got Lamar Jackson, but hey, the Steelers, Ben ain't going to be around much longer. Think about that one. Well, the Raiders, no. They got too many quarterbacks already. But I mean, there's not a lot of teams that would do this. There's not a lot of teams that it wouldn't make sense. Even if he's not coming in to definitely be the starter, he's going to compete hard for that job, and he's going to make it difficult. That's the idea. So, this is petty. It's real petty. I don't rock with it at all. It's time. It's time for Jerry to realize that it's not about you. This is a long conversation that has lasted throughout the years. At the end of the day, in Jerry Jones's mind, the Dallas Cowboys are him. He is the face. He is the end-all, be-all of Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys. That's a problem. Because as long as it's about him, this team is not going to succeed. It's not going to get back to the glory days. They're not going to get back to championships. You have to start putting the team first. How did everyone else get paid? Jalen Smith made about $100 million. Zeke made $90 million. Amari Cooper made $100 million. You, at one point, signed Jason Witten out of retirement to come back. And now you are paying Andy Dalton. Again, he's a proven starter in the league, but it hasn't been, exactly phenomenal. It hasn't been something to write home about. Everyone else is getting paid. Why is your franchise quarterback not? Is there some doubt that he's your franchise quarterback? That would be my question. That'd be the only reason in my mind you would make an investment in the guy who has, again, won season after season after season and is only improving. That's the only thing I can think of. But it's about time to wise up. This is another case of the players needing to know their worth. So for me, it's no question in my mind. I'm sitting. I'm sitting until you want to pay me. Pay me or trade me. Plain and simple. That's what Dion would do. Prime time. This is boo. But anyway. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. We'll see. I wouldn't want to be in that position right about now. And his agent need to get fired, because any real agent would have got this done by now. Worse than Kaepernick's agent. But, I didn't say that. Anyway, moving right along. Next topic. Last Sunday, we saw episodes 5 and 6 of The Last Dance. This was centered around a few different things. We saw Kobe as he was making his way in the league, his interactions with Jordan, the Dream Team, and what was big on this one was the whole controversy about MJ and his supposed gambling problem, the whole issue he had with him not endorsing the black candidate. It was a lot going on here. But if you've been following this series, this documentary so far, it had to hit your heart. I know it hit mine to see Kobe and Jordan from back in the day on the court together. You just saw a student absorbing so much knowledge and everything he could from Jordan. You see him in the All-Star game or when they were playing against each other. He's just trying to learn just little things that he can. How to hit his step back move. How to feel the defense out. And all these things we saw him do later on in his career, things that he was known well for doing. So, that's why a lot of people say that, those of us that grew up in the 90s and into the early 2000s, they all said that, Kobe was our Michael. And to some people it was. I don't like to say that. I don't like saying he was our Michael Jordan or anything like that, because Jordan was Jordan. Kobe was Kobe. They're two different people. Now, was there some similar movesets? Of course. But that's because he was learning from the best. So, seeing that again, that was honestly, that was hard to watch. Because Kobe was giving some thoughts that he shared in the documentary and everything, and just to see them two again, it's touching, and it just reminds you that, man, we lost a titan in the world of sports. But then of course they got into the whole Dream Team thing, and this bad blood that just keeps on between Mike and Isaiah. But I found it funny that, he said, everyone keeps pointing at me, at Mike, about the whole snub that Isaiah didn't make the team. But there was plenty of people that had issues with Isaiah that were on that same team. Magic was on the team. He had issues with Isaiah. Bird was on the team. Him and the Celtics, they had a lot of beef with Isaiah. There was a list of people that could have sat up there and said, yo, listen, We ain't doing this if Isaiah's on the team. But Jordan was the obvious choice because they're well known beef, and he even said, yeah, well, you sending me the invite, but who's there? Who's on the team? Just people. Like when you go into the cookout, well, who all there? I mean, fair is fair, but ultimately, should he have been on the team? Sure. Would it have been a problem? Probably. I mean, there's enough competitiveness there already. He showed some footage that I had never seen before. I didn't know they had, that scrimmage before the actual game, just between the guys that were on the team. That's enough competitiveness right there. Magic and Jordan just going at it back and forth. But if you had Isaiah, guy that ruffled more than enough feathers, I think that's opening a whole nother box that you don't need to open. So regardless who caused the snub, I think we can all just agree that everything went smoothly with what they have. I think we would have been having a lot more conversations in the negative realm if Isaiah was on the team. Again, not that he shouldn't have been. Because, if we're talking about just talent-wise, how can you not? But this was another case of we got to think about what that's going to do for all those guys together. But that was good. Then we had, the whole Jordan is a gambler issue. They had some election going down south, and the big story was that you had a black candidate coming out, and Jordan, because he is the figurehead of sports, he's the most popular man in America. Why hasn't he endorsed a black athlete? And the classic line is, well, Republicans buy shoes too. We'll be fair here and say that that's not the right way to handle it. If he could go back, I'm sure there was a different way he would have gone about that. And he did say that if he could go back, he wouldn't have been such a role model because his focus was on his craft. He wasn't thinking about trying to, inspire people in other walks of life and trying to be some kind of voice, some figurehead in other aspects. It was all about he's trying to focus on him, his game, his profession, and if it inspires you, if what he does inspires you, great. But he's not going out on a limb for anybody. And from that standpoint, I can understand it because at the end of the day, you're a professional for a reason. Your mind should be on your work. So, when you look at it from that aspect, cool. But then there's the other aspect of you're a black man in America, you're in a prominent place as a sports athlete, as again, the most popular man in America. So from that aspect, it's like, well, now you kind of have an obligation. And I can't be hypocritical. I've been one that said, when you're a black man in a prominent place, you need to have your voice. I've said that when it comes to